Guys, as you know, I like to come into the interview nice and relaxed. Today's awesome because today's our first female guest. Our first season, we had all the male. I got the guys opening up. But as a gentleman, I was raised by women, and you guys might not know this, single mom. Dad died when I was young, and by my grandmother. And also, some of my best friends were female. And then the father of five daughters, and so on and so forth. And a lot of amazing queens that are in my life affecting me. I wanted to debut the show with a really strong light warrior. Please welcome Chantal Levi, Human Initiative, Human Capital Initiative. That's how she goes to the corporates, but she's the Chantress. She's a magical one. She's a coach, and so much more. A spiritual healer, and we're gonna unravel a lot of boats here and shake a lot of feathers. Welcome to the show, Madame.
Kazi, thank you for having me.
So yeah, it's been like I said, you're the first female, and not just female, first queen on the show. And I wanted to start off nice and strong because, like I said, I was raised by female warriors, and a lot of guys don't know that out there. They've been a lot of women have been asking like, how do you get the guys to open up and be so vulnerable? Well, that's because I was raised by women, and I always love to converse and to open up and feel most home around women, not only beautiful women, but all types of women. And so glad to have you on the show. I've checked your stuff out.
Thank you.
Your posts and your storylines are so to the point and no fluff. So straight away, let's go straight into it.
I love it.
What does Chantal do? Who are you?
Amazing.
Let's get a bit of a...
So, Kazi, before I go into the sort of structural information of what I actually do, let's just talk into Strong Woman because I love that. So, first of all, to say on being a guy that's comfortable behind a strong woman because we often get confused for being too deeply now masculine. I had a male figure in my life for many years, and we used to have this argument all the time because he always used to feel that I robbed him of his alpha masculine. And I always used to remind him, because I'm so strong, that kept me going.
Yeah.
It's kept me here, and it's kept me here to tell my story.
Yes.
So in the context of that, when I started in the healing space, I was born as an esoteric. That information or that knowing or that insight, that knowing, that wisdom, that insight, was kept a little at bay until I moved more strongly into my coaching space. That was born out of having an executive recruitment business. I started my career off actually in the corporate space as an IT salesperson. You can imagine it was a lot of fun and games, but I was super confident.
What were you selling, by the way?
Software. So
Software must have flown.
So when I do you know what? It didn't, and I'll tell you why. So it did and it didn't. It did from a financial perspective. I did super well, but I was a baby. I was in my early 20s selling a product from Israel to the likes of Old Mutual, Sanlam. I was making double the amount of money that I make now, believe it or not, in my very early 20s. So that was the early days of my scarring around stepping into masculine. I was sitting at boardroom tables as a 22-year-old girl with 50. I mean, I'm close to that age now, not exactly, but not too far from. But yeah, well, that's the one thing. And the other thing is these people were ancient and they knew their stuff, and along came cheeky old me. So that was my introduction into stepping into my power, stepping into my confidence. Anyway, I got the sort of genius to open an IT recruitment business at the age of 27. I did very well. I had it for about 12 years. But that then led me down the road of coaching because what I found, it was actually remarkable, is that I fell in love with my candidates more than I did with my clients. Now, the clients are paying me my salary, but it's like marriage, making marriages all the time. But I'd have very high-end system architects, for example, or software developers or something along those lines, and I'd be looking into their soul going, you're applying for the wrong job, and I could feel it intuitively. So that was the beginning kind of my coaching career. I then did all the necessary studies, started moving into coaching, and all of a sudden the esoterics just came back out of absolutely nowhere. So I would be doing a professional coaching session with you, and then all of a sudden I could see your aura and your guides and your angels and who I needed to talk to. It was terrifying initially, but I did something wonderfully strange, and I just kind of followed the faith, followed my gut, did what my guides were telling me to do. And I asked one of my coaching clients to come in for a healing session. And she said, yeah, cool, what are we going to do? I said, I don't know, just show up.
We just guided.
I was just guided.
You don't know it when you are guided. Yeah.
Kazi, that day I was getting ready. I'm a super casual person. I don't know if you've really picked that up from my Instagram, but I chop and change and whatever. But while I was getting ready for the session, my mother was talking to me from the other side, and she was saying, you need to wear my earrings, you need to wear my earrings. And I was going like, what the bleep? Anyway, put them on, did this healing session. It was miraculous. She phoned me 3 days later and she said, whatever you did, I feel incredible. Ask me what I did to this day. I still don't really know. But that then kind of changed the trajectory of my traditional life coaching and my conventional life coaching into more of a multidimensional coach and healer. Unfortunately, Instagram doesn't really allow you to position yourself as a healer, hence I call myself a coach, but I do all sorts.
Yeah.
So that through that sort of storyline, I met a lady who had a similar story to mine, in that she started off her career as an advocate, had a panic attack in the courtroom, never stepped in the courtroom again, did some corporate stuff, and then had a full-on nervous breakdown. And when her and I were chatting, I was like, I relate. That's how my spiritual awakening started. I remember being completely debilitated at the age of 30, living in a fancy apartment on Hyde Park, standing sort of on the balcony, watching all these cars go by, thinking, where are they going? What are they doing? I feel so empty. Anyways. Total. So after swapping stories, we teamed up because we found a niche in the market as well that said, why don't we take this work? We both come from a corporate background. We've got the know-how. We know how to energize people. We know how to activate the stuck points in them. And we know how to move energy, which is quite different, right? It's terrifying for people in the corporate space. Of course, we language it a little bit differently. So we then launched a business called the Human Capital Initiative. We've taken both our skills. She covers the legal intricacies so that we don't get into too much trouble, and I do all the rest of the dirty work, as you can imagine. So, Kazi, it's been a really fun journey. Yeah.
Now let's go right to the beginning. Give us a background on growing up, the family dynamics.
You'll love this.
I just want to know everything. Was there wellness there? What was it like? And also leading into, when did you first realize that you had the sight? I mean, that you could feel and see things beyond.
3 years old was the very first time, and I'll tell you how it happened. So I was born into a very interesting family. My late father was half Turkish, half Spanish. My late mother was Latvian. They met in Israel. They came to South Africa, got married. They had my brother and sister, and then me. And
your baby.
Yeah, by 7 years. So it's quite a big difference, right?
Okay.
Of course. But not only am I the Lot Lamaki, I am also the generational curse breaker. I'm very different to my brother and my sister. I love them both dearly, even though there are normal family debacles and challenges, as you can imagine. But very long story short, at about 5 years old or 6 years old, we were having, in the Jewish tradition, they have a Friday night Shabbos. It's very cultural. And my parents had a fight. And it was many, or one of many that I can remember. And in that moment, I remember thinking there is something very flawed about religion. Because if we are gathering as a family to do something in the name of our God, and this is what it results in, something must be wrong. That was my first instinct. My second one was, all my friends eat pork. Now, as a 5-year-old or 6-year-old or 7-year-old, I don't know exactly when that penny dropped, I remember having this feeling of, why are we so special? I didn't look at the whole storyline. I just looked at it as, pork is bad, they can eat it, we are better than them.
You're the chosen ones.
Yeah, but I hated that storyline. I hated it. You'll understand being...
You can understand it. You're a baby at that point. Yeah.
100%. And also, we live in an environment of polarity as opposed to duality. So at that very young age, there was something in me that was already brewing. Right, so that was kind of the beginning. Then... I think I was an anxious little kid. If I really think back, I developed all these confidence masks very late in life. I became an extrovert only when I hit high school. But I remember sneaking off to my parents' bedroom, and I had to cross the passage. And every time I crossed this passage, I looked down because I was looking for the werewolves, the bloodhounds. Ask me to this day, I still don't really understand it. I've dreamed about them many times. However, hop in parents' bed, and I would often lie awake looking at the poster in the passage talking to me. Only many years later did I understand that those were my angels, those were my guides. I was already starting to see things that just didn't make sense. I was already talking crystals. I was already talking palmistry. I was already talking all these crazy things.
Was there anyone at that point that you could talk to you about these things? Like,
no.
Oh, by the way, or they just think you're nuts. So this is your own self-conversation.
It was my own self-conversation. And, truthfully, the likelihood is, could I have spoken to one or two people? Most probably. It just didn't actually occur to me. You know, my mom, bless her soul, was always running off to psychics and palm readers and all of that. So it wasn't something we needed to shy away from, but it wasn't something that was transparent, if I could say that.
It was undercover.
It was very undercover. So that was pretty much the beginning of my journey. Fast track to high school when I turned into a complete rebel. I failed standard 6 because I was too busy jawling. I was literally in nightclubs doing everything that I shouldn't, as you can imagine. I don't want to really elaborate, but I mean, everybody will know anyway. I became a complete wild child, the ultimate rebellion. In standard 8, I left school thinking that I'm better than school. I went and studied, I thought I was going to do architecture. It was a beautiful story I told myself. But anyway, I went to go and study mechanical engineering. I lasted 4 months. I carried on jawling, kicked out of school, found my first job in the IT space. I was very blessed. So looking back, if I think of sort of what shaped me, there is no logical reason other than I was chosen to do this work.
Did you constantly feel this intuition pulling you? Like even in the darkest of spaces and places, something guiding and protected you at all?
When
Or
I look
only now in retrospect.
in retrospect,
Like, I mean, we normally look back and go, oh shit, look at that deleted that shit to that. But we think back on it, one wonders, what was it? It was crazy. How did I get here?
yeah, how did I get from there? I'll tell you what catapulted me actually is that I was sitting at home one day. I used to run my office from home, and I was thinking things in my life are not smooth. There are too many patterns that are on repeat. There are too many of the same types of individuals that I attract into my space. Family, friends, lovers, the whole 9 yards.
The cycles.
The cycles, you know them well. The program that just keeps repeating, right? We don't understand where it comes from.
The
But
actual matrix.
Don't even. But I got hold of somebody through somebody, and I said, hey, I need help. I wasn't quite sure, but I thought I was going to have a reading of sorts. And the guy arrived, full on happy. And he went, okay, let's meditate. And I looked at him like he was speaking another language, but I was like, okay, cool, go with it. That was the beginning of the next level of my awakening, because literally 3 days after that, I decided I'm saving the world. I'm well networked. I'm cheeky as all hell. I've got confidence all over the place. I've sold my whole life. I'm going to start charitable events. I had this beautiful thing set up in my mind. I couldn't launch it, truthfully, because straight after that, I met another character that was the exact program on steroids. And to this day, I'll be forever grateful to him. That was my teacher. That was who God sent me to take me to the next level. It was literally the depiction of, this is what dark really looks like, Chantal. And this is what light looks
You've
like.
got to see both to know.
Total. And both exist. Both
Yes.
exist very much, you know. But in that moment, you know, through that kind of journey I was like, you know where you're going, girl. You know why you've walked this road. You know why you've made the ridiculously stupid decisions that you've made. You had to do this because you hold people through these exact storylines.
What is the worst, when you're looking back, the worst moment when you almost stop like, what the fuck am I? Excuse my language.
God bless you.
What ever am I doing? And how did you get out of that situation? I mean, there's always that moment that faces you, but normally before an enlightenment occurs where you're like, oh my God, you know. Let's talk about the darkest moment and how you got through.
Oh my God, Kaz, I've had many. I have had many.
What stands out?
Some I think I've chosen to forget, to be quite honest. The ones that are probably the most memorable for me was sitting in a house that is on the highest point in Johannesburg. The house value, or the building of that house, probably R1 million. A very, very wealthy guy. I went through a massive journey with him. But one morning, after sitting and meditating and knowing, by now I'd started studying quite a lot. I'd done my life coaching. I'd done my Reiki masters and. But it was 7 o'clock in the morning. The wind was howling. It was freezing. And I had to go down and do my morning ritual, which is a couple of vitamins and sort of the normal thing. And as I walked down the stairs, I had this moment of empty. That was my rock bottom moment, where I thought, I'm in this multi-million rand house made of bricks and mortar. Yeah. It is empty. It is alone. My partner is coming off a massive bender. Yeah. He's already been sleeping for 2 days. Yeah. That loneliness made me so ill inside. And I had the first recognition of money means nothing in this reality. All the money in the world doesn't make you happy. I had the second reality that said, nothing outside of myself can make me happy. Not the hottest guy, not the Porsche 911S that I had at the time, not all the jewelry that I was dripping in, not the friends that were kind of flocking to me. You name it, I had it all on a piece of paper. But in reality, I was empty inside. So that was kind of my most adult moment recognition, where it was like, damn it, girl, time to change. I went back upstairs in my pajamas. I continued my meditation. I think it was the first time that I meditated for probably an hour and a half. I pulled out my tarot cards and I started reading and reading and reading. And the voice came, girl, pack your shit, get moving. Life is about to change for you. And boy, did it. So yeah, I can write. We joke about this because I could write a book on all of this.
This is part of your book, right? You're going to see it and listen to it. This is the
100%.
part of the audio book.
No, that is something different.
So what happens after that? So
Wow. Okay, then I have a dream, literally 2 nights later. You would have noticed from some of my posts, I often talk about dreams. They're very, is the right word, they give me sort of premonitions, if you will. It was a really beautiful dream. It was quite romantic, I must admit. I woke up flippin' blushing from my own dream. Yeah. But I knew that it was time to leave. Did the thing that I was the most afraid of, packed my stuff, left. Gratefully, the partner was an amazing human being at the time. He understood my storyline, which was quite surprising given what we sort of lived through. Yeah. Packed, moved on.
Did he go to from there? What is the plan?
There wasn't. So the part of the plan was that I'm going to continue coaching.
How close were you to your family at this point?
Ish.
And how religious were they at this point?
So no religion. So I'll tell you the cultural sort of element of how we were brought up. Died a slow death when my parents got divorced. So religion never really existed for any of us. Family still around. By this time, I think my mom had already passed. My late dad had also already passed. So I had my brother and my sister. My sister wasn't close to it all at the time. My brother, typical alpha male, kind of get on, do your shit, do what you've got to do. But I had loads of amazing friends that were like family to me. Yeah. So they held me through most of it. But at that point, I was already life coaching. So I continued, but I fell off the bus hard. I sat in front of a client one day and I looked at her. I managed to keep it all together. When she left, I was like, I've got to stop coaching because I'm a fraud. Now, most healers and most coaches have exactly that moment of, I am selling you a story that I myself am really, really battling to implement.
You're not perfect, but you're a vessel, but you know you're not perfect and no one is. Who is?
Well, now this is why you see my post in the light that you do now. Yeah. So I'm very much about exposing. This is my reality. Don't be fooled by the Instagram posts and the face shopped, whatever you call that thing, that make me look beautiful on some days. Because those days I've woken up with dark rings under my eyes, but something is driving me insane. So I'll put out a post. You've experienced this so intensely yesterday. Somebody else is also feeling it. So Kaz, that was pretty much the story. So I stopped coaching for a little while. I had a little bit of cash. So that kept me going for a bit. I went back on the Jawling bus. In fact, what happened was I took myself off to a 10-day silent meditation in Worcester called Vipassana. I don't know if you've ever been to one. By that time, I hadn't had a sip of alcohol or a cigarette or anything for about 9 months. Went, did my thing, came back that night, drank a bottle of wine, got pissed with my mates because I was constrained for 10 days. I was told what to, when to, and how to. So this was my next level of my awakening.
The free will is taken away, so now you want to do it.
The rebel in me goes, don't tell me what to do.
Yes, I got that issue,
Yeah, 100%. So I went a little bit backwards, obviously, but it wasn't backwards, it was forwards. But of course, hindsight gives you this information.
Pull constantly.
Oh, so much. And it continues every single day.
Of course. And yet the yearning is constantly there because the kingdom is within, but these challenges are there. And I think, from my own perspective, it's there to keep you humble as well.
So much.
To keep your ass on the ground.
So much. Let's talk about that for a second. Can I just share an interesting teaching with you? This took me such a long time for the penny to drop. So part of coaching and healing, I also position myself as a teacher. So one of the sort of principles that I teach, and it's come up many, many times in the last 6 months, let's hypothetically say that the penthouse is on the 10th floor and the shitty basement where the ugly old golf ones park are on basement level 3, right? And you and I, as a, let's call it a somewhat evolved or conscious person, generally live on the 5th floor, right? So let's call this a frequency match or a frequency shift. Every now and again, I might get invited to a pool party on the 10th floor, right? Because my vibration is so high, it's kicking up at that 10.
Yes.
Okay? Then something happens. I lose a contract that I didn't expect. A client hits me back with something I never saw coming. That is such a deep reflection of an insecurity within me, and I drop to basement 3. The only difference is because I've already tasted the 10th floor, right? I'm going to revisit basement 3 with new information, new knowledge, to relearn how to explore what B3 feels like from a different state of consciousness.
Yes.
If that makes any sense.
Use
to you.
different tools.
100%. This is the game of life, right? We go up and we go down. And as we go up, I need different weapons. I can't go to a gunfight with a knife. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That is amazing, though, because, and I've been finding that recently, like yesterday, I was in a situation where an old acquaintance, I bumped into them at the store, and we normally have these poverty mentality things. We tell the story in ourselves.
Like Mansi.
We're not really authentic. We're too scared to be authentic, and we're too scared to claim our destiny. So yesterday, I just felt like I really didn't give a damn. I just felt really calm and confident in who I was. Like it's just a calmness, right?
The energy of yesterday was that, just FYI.
Moon was there.
Yeah.
And so and I just came from picking up a bunch of tapes, and I know I was speaking to you afterwards. I had all these tapes that I hadn't seen in like 15 years. A documentary where I interviewed all these top hip hop artists from back in the days. Anyway,
That must have been really cool.
memories started flooding back. Some of these guys have passed on, some to suicide, some they were big names. And so as I'm driving home, I'm telling a friend, I need water. Like I'm just really thirsty. Let's stop over here, get some water. And I met someone I met before. I was really previously like tended to be negative, but this person was enjoying the attention they were getting from other people in this small cafe. So I got my water, and that voice just kept on telling me, just be you, don't adapt anymore, don't change. And so I walked to pay. They asked me anything more. I said, no, this is cool. And this person asked, like, so what you been up to? I said, no, I'm just doing this, doing the podcast, purposeful footing, all that good stuff. And then they asked a question that almost could tell was like a knife or trying to say,
A little probe.
I'm making any money, like that. But they wouldn't speak like this on their own. On their own, they'd be like, how could I, And like all cocky now. And I'm like, yes, I am. I'm a billionaire.
I love it. Well, you are.
God is great. But at that moment, I was clear of speaking things into manifestation, of claiming it. And then the guys laughed. They're like, well, you better ask God to help us. So, well, I'll speak to my father and I'll throw in a word for you. It felt so amazing as I slid out there, because it's all true, right?
100%. But not only that, Kazi, if I can just interject for 1 second, people really stuff this one up. You are a millionaire. You might not have the rand value of a millionaire or the dollar value. You're a millionaire in heart. You're a millionaire in spirit.
Look, we also know that we came here with nothing and we leave here with nothing. So what's been really,
Amen.
really clear lately is
Amen.
you don't waste your time with attachment. This has been told you, but it's like, yes, you can have the most amazing car, the most amazing partner. We've both been around the world to different places, in Monte Carlo, here, there. But realize you can't take this with you. Like you were there, sitting, driving your Porsche, all the friends in the world. But if you don't face death and have this conversation with death, like, okay, shoot, how do I make peace with this? I only make peace with death by making today the best day it could be authentic, act of the highest ethical value as possible, so that I'm earning at least the best karmic results possible.
100%.
So when I book out, because it never ends,
Yeah.
I know I'm not going to just catch up and I'm going to be like, come out. I'm going to have to pay for this somehow.
Yeah.
So every day now is like, okay, every thought, every action, every word, be as
Cause and
aware as
effect.
possible, cause and effect.
So much.
And it took a while to get there. So at least sometimes going back to the basement with these new tools really helps, because now I'm not bumping the head against the door, pressing the lift number to go back to 10. Oh, sorry, just everyone cool, yeah? Bam. And
100%. So you arrive there with a different level of consciousness. And for people like you and I that are really light warriors in a very complicated world at the moment, or a very complicated planet called Earth at the moment, right? We have to be in our most highest level of consciousness. That doesn't mean perfection. That doesn't mean love, light, and namaste. I think I said this to you on the phone.
Awareness.
100%. And I might have said this to you on the phone, but I look back. So part of the book that I'm busy writing has got a lot to do with my Instagram posts. But I look back and I realize that probably 2 years ago I said exactly the same thing. I did say this to you on the phone, is that we can't put makeup on a pig or dress it in Gucci and then call it a flippin' supermodel, right?
Yeah.
So this is what a lot of people do, right? This conscious awareness is, right, what trips me up? What are my shadows? Who am I? I hit a dark phase when something that I expect to happen doesn't happen. That's okay. Now I'm aware of it. How do I actually pop myself out of this moment and learn from it?
And so yesterday, in short, what happened was I caught myself being aware of self.
Yeah.
And normally I would have been like, actually, just to try, everyone's trying to make a living. I'm like, dude, you're a king. Like, literally, I told a friend of mine as well, I feel like the richest man on earth because of how I feel.
Yeah.
Just give me a slice of bread, and to me it's because I came from nothing, and anything on top of it, the with the mentalities is in it. I'm just so blessed. And another thing that came to me this morning, and Scooter to share with you, the more in love you are with yourself. Think about it, you love someone or something. You want to spoil them, right? The universe is getting ready to spoil me with a whole lot of good stuff because the self-love is finally kicked in. It's not about being better or worse. It's just been, finally, you are somebody and you play an important part here.
Okay, so let me share with you quickly. The energy of 2025 has been damn interesting. But I wrote my first post of 2025 calling it the self-love journey.
Yeah.
Because even though I'm super confident, even though I have moments where I feel like the shiz in every way, whether that be smashing it out at the gym, and I want to talk about that for a second too. Yeah, definitely. Even that, right, is that I realized I have moments where the self, I don't like the self. Of course, I'm still human, right? But 2025 was my year. Come hell or high water. Doesn't matter what I have, what I do, who's in my world, who's not in my world. Come rain or shine, I'm going on the self-love, authentic journey of who I really, really am. That was also the trajectory of changing my post because I realized I'd written from beauty before. I had written from truth in the moment, but very much going through the beautiful parts of an awakening. Now I've gone through a different version of that, and other people go through that too. So if you look at the vibration of love and authenticity, authenticity vibrates much higher than love because God doesn't says, you say to us, you must, every time you praise me, be in perfect synchronicity. What he says, if you're pissed off with me, you tell me. Let me sort that stuff out, right? He says, I want you to be you in every single moment. So that was the beginning of the storyline.
And know that you've got me. Do you know? Like I'm a call away, but you gotta reach out and call for me. You
100%.
gotta want me.
100%. And the reason that I mentioned 2025 in particular is that the Earth is currently in a 9-year cycle, meaning endings. So what comes with endings? We've got to let go of stuff. First and foremost, we feel afraid because we feel like we're losing stuff because this is the rebirth. So 2025 is a difficult year spiritually. Difficult. This is no smooth sailing year.
So let's say somebody's watching there and they don't have no clue about what it's like to be a psychic or to have these visions or thoughts or sights. What is it like? So,
Let me tell you what it's like right now. How does that sound? So I'll give you 3 different scenarios, right? So let's give a nice, simple, everyday life one. I meet a guy, okay, and he seems incredible. He's good looking. He dresses the part. He's got height. He's got stuff. And one lie comes out of his mouth, and I can see it immediately. So it's uncomfortable because you can't call somebody out.
Sensitive.
Yes, of course. You can't call them out, though, right? So you can just simply go, no, I'm my cup of tea. So is that a gift or a curse? It's a gift because it avoids long-term drama. It's a curse because you don't have the same amount of fun that everybody else has. Right, so that's one version of it. Let me think of another one. What does it feel like to be awake? It's hard in an environment of sleeping people. So all of a sudden, who you choose in your reality, who you connect with in your reality, it becomes different. I used to have hundreds of friends. I had a network from hell. Really, 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 in the most beautiful way now. Now, the network is pretty small. My besties can come to my 100%, 100%. But I'll tell you something funny, right? Is that this isn't only about having foresight or perception or psychics or intuition, right? This is also feeling. Now, some of the most reputable healers and spiritualists suffer the same stuff as normal everyday people. So in a particular area of the life, they are really phenomenal. In other areas, they're as fake as bleep, bleep, bleep. Sorry, I have to really catch myself there. So it's interesting to be in this position as in awake and authentic.
Yes.
Because now you really see everything. So yeah, okay, it's fun and games there.
It's incredible because, like, I'm sure you feel, at moments where you feel very isolated in a
Ooh,
room.
yeah, no
and
idea.
You want to share things with somebody. Like, let's just give you an example of my life. I mean, after being in quite an intense relationship and stuff, and then you have these awakenings and you realize that for the best interest of everyone, you choose to step back. And I felt, I knew that I had to step back and be almost like alone for like, this has gone on 7 years, alone. Like in your own little monastery, sleeping on the floor, and to the point now where even that becomes addictive because you've got to watch yourself, that you don't go too far.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
To the point where now, and then I think it's important, like for example, when you've had to have fun as a younger person, you partied, you did this, you made your mistakes, because now you know that. Here's an example. There's that Tom Cruise movie where he says, "You complete me." I'm like, bro. First of all, I don't want anyone that doesn't tell me I complete them. Come complete
Because
me.
that really makes you take a lot of responsibility
So
for stuff you're
let
not.
your creator complete you.
Yeah.
Then can we walk side by side?
Yeah.
Like don't break me.
Come to me whole.
Yeah.
Come to me whole.
I don't want. No one's gonna complete me. You complete you. That self-loving, that self-acceptance. So let's talk about what it takes to be a complete human being, soul, spirit in this age, because that's what's important. Let's not sell the frivolous stuff. Let's get to the point, like, because we want to be as complete as possible and help people. Do
Kaz,
that.
I'm so glad that you went there. I'll tell you why. For a while, I was very confused about what I do. What kind of healer am I? What I bring to people, what I coach, etc., etc. It's taken me a long time to figure out the storyline, because when I started as a normal coach, I always tell people it was like putting money on a racehorse. I'm going to give you a 6-week program or a 12-week program or whatever program that we've pre-written for you.
Yeah.
You're going to go off the starting blocks. You're going to be phenomenal. You're going to win that race. But at the end of it, you're going to be sat. You're going to be tired. You're going to be nowhere, right?
Yeah.
But that's because I've given you tools and I've given you information for the mind. I haven't looked into the body. I haven't aligned you with the soul. And I haven't listened to what your spirit is actually telling me about. So this was part of my transformation, to understand who I am, right? So when people arrive at me for a journey, as opposed to a healing session, it is a journey, because we're looking at all these different sort of layers of what makes you you. You've got your own unique footprint or fingerprint, shall I say. So how can I have a custom program, or rather shall I say a program that fits you, me, her,
We're all
him?
so unique.
100%, right? So you arriving at me with your storyline. I'm looking at your ancestral lineage. I'm looking at what makes you unique in this here and now. What's actually going on, not only on the energetic points. People understand chakras. It's a little bit tired. It's a little bit overused for now. But inside that body, and you'll know this from the work that you do as well, is that we've got nutrient deficient, mineral deficient, vitamin deficiencies. We've got things that are not connecting the way that they're supposed to.
And don't lose your channel of photo, but basically, like, say, I've studied the dimensions of wellness. All 7. It's not just physical.
It's not.
It's not just food. It's emotional,
Yes.
occupational, social.
Yes.
It's everything. Environmental, even.
Yes.
Like where,
It's all the
what,
senses.
how, who. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, it's exactly that, right? So it's all the senses that are eventually coming into full alignment. So can this healing journey ever end? I don't think so. I know for me, I've committed to this as a lifelong thing.
Yeah.
It helps that I understand, and I'd love to look at your numbers at some point, but it helps to understand that this is my last life here. So I've come here to learn and to make right, and to learn and to make right, and just be the best version of myself that I really can be without the fluffy sort of noise. So going back to this kind of all-encompassing, what does it actually take to have some, let's call it a solid platform with which to operate within the self? It requires a lot. This is a full-time job.
Work, eh?
Me has got to come first, right? We've got to talk about this God within ourselves, filling keeping this cup full. How do I do it? The topic that I know you love the most. I was a gym junkie for many years myself. I was also a personal trainer. I don't know if I mentioned that. But even back then, right, there was something that I understood that was unique. It was around, we've got this idea of the EQ, the IQ, later this resilience quotient thing was born. And back then, and I think this was about 15 years ago, I must probably go and have a little look-see, but I remember going, I'm going to coin the phrase HQ. Health quotient. I never got to it. So that people could actually understand. Yeah, it exists now.
Yeah,
You can
let's go.
AI that stuff. I've still got all my material that I wrote around understanding what health really means. It's not just the body function. Yes, the body will function well if the brain is functioning well. So if I go, let's use this as an example. If I go into immense amounts of fear, I'm going to shut my kidneys down. My kidneys are going to...
hormones and adrenaline.
Yes, my kidneys are going to start flaring up. Guess what that's going to do? I'm not going to release the toxins in my body.
Yes.
It's going to give me inflammation. Guess what that's going to do? It's going to make me uncomfortable in my clothes. It's going to bring along insecurities. It's going to start what's the right word? Offsetting, imbalancing all my other chakra points. So all of a sudden, the brain is doing all sorts of stupid shit.
But you're feeling shit, so you're thinking shit, and so...
And now you're acting shit.
Yeah, it's because it's all connected.
100%. 100%. So this is actually why I landed up becoming this very strange healer or this very strange coach. Because I look at somebody and I go, right, let me look at you top to bottom. I can only do what I can do, right? And I can only do what the body and the person and the energy in front of me allows me to do.
As we're learning Reiki, like, you can only help someone heal if they choose. It's a choice. Because all you are is a vessel.
Yeah,
all you
you're just
are
a channel.
is, let divine flow through me for the highest good. It's, you know what I'm saying?
So funny story, just to share with you about Reiki, right?
Yeah.
So I go and do my Reiki course. I don't want to do it because I don't like studying. Remember, I failed standard 6, left in standard 8. So I've got that program that says studying, learning. It scares me, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, but I go and do it out of absolute necessity because I don't want a client sitting in front of me saying, but you don't know what you're doing, right? I've got that fear.
Yeah.
So of course I go and study it. But anyway, we get to the end where we do our practical and the Reiki teacher says to me, "You finished?" And I'm like, yeah. She said, "But everybody's still busy." I'm like, "You said get one thing right. Check what's going on in the person's body, give them feedback. If they're in alignment, do the correction." I said, "I've done it." And she was like, "Huh?" I said, when we did this course, I had told you before we did the actual practical that I was so bored until we got to psychic surgery, which is 5 minutes, right? So even traditional Reiki, I don't offer as a service, right? I offer light codes, light language.
You learn to also incorporate it, like my
I do it because I have to, because it's a word people relate to.
It's all part of, like I said, I don't even mention the words unless someone understands what I'm talking about, because I was told to go into the masses and use the gifts. So when I'm training people, or like let's say I was on TV, so people are going to come to you, they're going to want to touch you.
Yeah.
So now I automatically know what my intention is, what I'm saying, what I'm feeling, when I'm touching people, when I'm communicating to them.
Yeah.
Maybe telling you, okay, once I want you to do is going to give me 10 reps of this and this, that, but you got this, eh? They don't understand what I'm flowing, my intention behind.
100%.
The intention is always there. So
100%.
be able to use, but you can't throw pearls to swine. You'll be trampled and you'll be arrested.
And
Not,
I have
not
been
that I'm calling
trampled.
just people in swine, people in general. What I'm saying is you have to be careful what you say, when, what, how, just to respect all spaces.
Well, let me tell you a
because-
story about that.
Yeah.
If you're good with this.
You can't just force your healing, and we all the children of the creator of all. So sometimes you have to leave it up to pops and mommy, like you have to make up to you.
Kaz, it's a very cool
Let's
topic,
go there.
that one. Let's go there for 2 seconds if you don't mind. Karma.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, let's talk about karma, coming death, what's happening
Yeah.
now, how we are existing within.
that is a 3-phase podcast, but I'll touch on it.
Let's go there.
But before I touch on it, I'll tell you quickly a learning that I had, right? So people that are us, light workers, light warriors, way showers, whatever language you want to give us, right? We are at heart humanitarians, right? We're not the I, we function on the we spectrum in general. But there is sometimes, and this is what happened with me, a little program running in me that said, you're the savior,
Yes.
suffering from white knight syndrome. I never had a clue that had nothing to do with the other person, it had everything to do with me. If I'm saving you, I have purpose. That was how I gave myself purpose, right? It took me a long time to wake up from that very poor sort of state of being. When I woke up and I had this beautiful teaching around, we are not here to interrupt somebody's karma. They have a journey that they need to work. They have a soul's mission that they've come here in this.
debt. Or some they either got a debt or they got payment to be made to them. It's
Yes, who are we to say you must not live your life in this way? I can show you God and I can show you. Yes, if you want to, come. I'm the teacher. We can do this thing together. But if you in this particular lifetime choose to stay asleep, that is also okay. And remember, we need role players. I want to see people that I don't want to be like. Yes. Spiritual, whatever. I still
you know what, John? You have to
judge.
see what you're not to know what you are.
100%. And also, that gives me then this idea of discernment and free will. Because I look at you and I go, I don't want to be like that. Cool, Chantal, then you better be better. I look at people that are out of shape as an example. And not that there's anything wrong with their journey, but for me,
Yes.
I'm not comfortable with that, right? So then I have to look at it and I go, okay, Chantal, I'll just have a couple of questions. Are you being the judgy? I am a little bit opinionated in case you haven't figured that one out. Or are you being discerning? And it's taken me a long time to go, that's your discernment. You have free will. God gave you all the options available for your journey. And your journey is not about being unhealthy or overweight.
I see it, but I don't choose it.
Yeah.
And other people, we're talking about karma, people misunderstand is that, yes, so we are living in our karma, but it's important to know that you can change how things turn out based on how you react or respond to things. So let's just say we're living in our present karma and how we respond to it. Instead of F, we'll be like, okay, with love.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that and how we can learn the lesson right now and move on.
I love it. So cause and effect.
And avoid the keep bumping your head over and over again, because until you see it and deal with it, you will be stuck. Right?
So this is why, for me, this work is a journey, and I can't offer a healing session, right? Because before we can even get to that point, I have to make the being conscious. In order to be conscious, I have to teach them how to become still and how to become aware. When the brain is conscious, and in its most present state, it is able to hear and listen objectively. When it is able to hear that, it can then take full responsibility, in other words, choose to respond as opposed to react. Yes. When I do that, I course correct and I start to move in co-creation with the Creator. So have I come here as an example? I always tell people, I've had the most karmic life ever. I know I'm dealing with karma from eons and eons ago. I know that. But because I know that, I can take full responsibility for what I choose to do with this information. Now, some people will believe in past lives, some people won't, each to their own. I'm very much about past lives, etc., etc., etc. And in my particular journey, before I could start to take ownership of what I'm here to do and why do I need to do it, can I take a detour, if you don't mind?
Let's go.
You know, you asked me earlier, what does it feel like to see things that others can't? And I said, wow, I want to tell you a real story. So just a quick one. Yeah. For me, feels like there's a tsunami coming. I can see that tsunami. I can see it. But I'm on the front line of taking the hit of that first wave. But I'm building crews and teams of people that are either going to stand with me on the front line, but ideally maybe behind me, and one behind them, and one behind them, so that we can co-create a reality for our children's children. Exactly. Because that's what it's about, right?
Legacy.
100%. It's not so much for us. I don't think it's going to change that fast, even though it is changing quite quick.
We're all part of it. We're all part of that infinity.
100%, right? So the reason I did that sort of detour is to go back to cause and effect and responsibility. So it's taken me a long time to go, right, Chantal, your life is not smooth sailing. It's been difficult. It's been super, super difficult. Everybody's hard is unique, but for me, it's felt pretty challenging. Human nature, good days, bad days, all of it. But I know what my job is. And my job is to stand in the front line of that tsunami. So I understand what my karma has been about. I've chosen to come here. I'm a tough cookie of note. That's why I also started our sort of discussion with a little bit of masculine energy. A lot of men meet me and they go, oh my God, she's tough. I'm all hot. But I've had to survive.
It depends how tough you are, how you receive it. I mean,
sure.
It's love, and obviously I'm used to power like this.
I love it.
And so I love it, you know. And also the fact that this journey of life is so amazing that when you are accountable, when you know what you're here for, like I'm not chasing anything anymore. Like I know why I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here living my purpose. This is part of my purpose. It's about being as authentic and natural as possible. I'm not trying to be all perfect and then you can't be consistent with it.
Never.
I've made so many mess ups as a father, as a this, as that. And so even now, you know that your kids are going to see this eventually.
100%.
By me honoring another queen, another person, because my children are very, very intuitive. They're going to know I'm loving them through you.
100%.
Every woman through you, through every woman that I'm with.
I love
treating
that.
with them respect, making them feel safe. And that comes from me knowing, okay, I finally know I'm where I'm meant to be. It's not about, when I get that job, then I'm going to be a... No. I am that already.
100%.
So when you are, then it just comes. I am.
100%.
I am there, and so it's like now just enjoying it all unfolding, because no matter what gets added or taken away, still when I gotta go, I gotta go. So it's about being right within now.
So-
Right now.
So I was just about to say this right now is so critical, right? Because as you know, as a spiritual being, and I'm sure you've been through this many times. I would call it the dark night of the soul, right? So, sort of normal man on the street would experience it as a depression, right? In the spiritual world, we call it deep rest, where we go into our little cocoon, we go inward, we redevelop, we figure out, whatever. But to get there, we need a few claps, right?
Yeah.
So for me, often it's only in the last 5 years, it's been very interesting for me. Actually, my pride and joy
Cheers,
was
by the way.
double cheers. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
So for me, my pride and joy has always been on friendships, because my family life has been quite tumultuous, but I've always prided myself on being the most incredible friend, etc., etc., etc. I am quite magnetic in my personality, so very easy for people to draw to me. So only literally in the last 5 years that I've probably lost about 6 or 7 really good friends that have felt like a divorce, being like whipped out from under my feet.
I know that too,
It's
bro.
so bizarre.
Yeah.
But only now can I look back and go, it is so beautiful. Thank you to every single one who taught me to stand on my own, to get out of my own
Not,
codependency.
oh, this person did that to me, that the moment you stop blaming and be like,
No.
listen, thank you, people also, as you grow, things fall.
Yes, 100%.
As they should. So please, thank you for showing me. Thank you for helping me learn.
And thank
And
you to the
bless you.
lot that left for showing me who I am. And the who I am is not who you are. So you might, for example, conduct spiritual work in this way. Beautiful,
So
God
be it.
bless you. But I don't, and I'm never going to conform, ever. So some of those have actually resulted in me really stepping into my power. But it's the knock, right? Where you could go back,
first-
go in
At first, it's so heartbreaking.
so
like I said.
much because
I
you
felt
feel
like I've been through
rejected.
so many different heartbreaks to get to this point where, like, and I can look back and go, oh, so that was all part of the plan. I always ask my guests at some point in the beginning, do you see how everything is connected or not? And in the beginning, they were like, I don't know. But in the end, they're like, oh, actually, because everything is connected. If that didn't
Totally.
happen, that happened.
Totally.
So how we creators, are we co-creators? You know?
Totally. And you know what the cool thing about co-creation is, and this is also what I teach some of my clients, is that, you know, we talk about destiny, for example, and destiny is there, but I can change it within 1 second, by one thought, by one experience, by one connection, by one uncomfortable moment, regardless of what it is, right? I can change that in 2 seconds, but I can only change that if I'm present. I can only get present if I'm conscious. I can only get there if I take responsibility. And to get there, there's so many steps. So I know a lot of people will preach meditation for a long period. I preach meditation too, but for a long period, meditate. So I realized that week 2, 3, where I wasn't meditating because other life was happening around me.
Shit happens.
But guess what? Then I started to suffer guilt. You're a bad spiritual person, Chantal, because you didn't meditate. The other spiritual warriors are going to look, you know, they're going to look down on you, blah, blah, blah. What a load of crap. I have now, and I'm almost a little loath to admit this in a public platform. This month, I haven't meditated once. There has been so much going on in my reality, but the downloads are still there,
But
quick,
however-
hard, and
But
fast.
people don't realize that meditation is a space of awareness.
Yes.
You can be meditating and be like, right now, I'm watching the self. The minute you step out and you become the witness, you are in meditation. You're watching what you're thinking, what you're saying, what you're doing. So, and that's another thing that one of my teachers told me, like, when I wanted to go to Tibet and be like, yeah, I want to go to that's,
I can see you there so clearly.
yeah, but you hit me with this. So if take the easy road, go meditate in a nice cave there, put your outfit on.
Yeah. Feel the part.
But then you still be delaying. If you really want to be a powerful healer and spiritual warrior and guru, whatever, do it here.
Here in the 3D.
Face your own shite with your own self, your own habits, all the rubbish that you've caused. And that was like a big wake-up call, because now, I mean, every day I wake up and I just, you know, there's things I wish I could change back, but at the same time, what I woke up with this morning specifically was like, I am that person that I'm proud of today. That I deserve love for myself and from others, whatever. And with those people that haven't seen me in a while, don't think, I mean, that's up to them, and one day they'll find out, hopefully, if they allow themselves to. But you know that in yourself, I am in that place where I choose to be. And like, you can't lie to yourself.
Kat, if we were in another setting, I would have dived up and hugged you so hard because I just loved how you explained that. I feel much like you. This is where we do the work. In the grind, in the real shit, in the daily, connecting to other people that are doing their thing, living our lives the way that we need to. We still got to do grocery shopping. We still got to do normal shit all day, every day. And you cannot bypass spirituality. Or let me put it to you this way, right? You cannot bypass healing through spirituality. You can try, and a lot of people do that. They sell a lot of very interesting programs, but all they do is unconsciously force somebody to steer clear of themselves, live up here, and then that one split second when they feel so many on layers. So that's also what got me to a different point when I went, you know what, Chantal, start exposing your shit. When you're in front of a client that's had a challenge that you've dealt with, share your story because they feel seen, heard, and you're here to tell the tale, and you look the part, and and you broke like they were busy breaking.
And it's so nice to be in that moment where, especially now with this podcast, because before when I grew up, I was always trying to hold up this image and
Don't
speak
we
a certain
all?
way. No, I'm like,
Doesn't society tell us that that's who we should be?
yeah, but I mean, it's so relieving and refreshing to be like, this is who I am. And you throw your worst out there because I'd rather you know me like this, that there's no, I don't have to now, I can only get better from this point. Do you know what I'm saying?
Guys, I'll tell you
I
a
can
great
only
story.
get better as opposed to like, bada, and then you start dropping and dropping and dropping.
So I'll tell you a
No
funny story.
expectations.
I'm single. I haven't dated for ages. I had a brief, I don't want to call it a connection, but a chat with somebody. And I said, listen, I've got to just give you a quick heads up. Don't be fooled by what you see on social media. Because in real life, I'm a tracksuit girl. I'm a gym bunny type of girl. The hair's up in a pony. I don't really wear makeup. So if you think I'm donning good outfits so that we can go and sit and have an interview, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So you want to come and hang out on my couch? Cool.
Yes,
Or maybe
me
I'll
too.
come and hang out on
Yes,
yours.
me too.
Otherwise, goodbye.
Yeah,
Not for
yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.
You know, and I could almost see this poor guy on the other side of the phone. I could hear him saying, yo, this chick's tough. I could hear him say, sure, she's a lot. I could hear all of the energy of it. And I just thought to myself,
But you have to, because like even with me, like I was saying, I went to the space of like going celibate for all these years, but because I was saying to you earlier on, it wasn't a problem because I'd had everything for the right and the wrong reasons, and now for time for self-love, there was no need to plaster.
yeah.
But then there was other types of plaster because now you're missing this and this and that. But when there's a final realization, you're like, okay, I know what I want. And I go to work, I come home. I'm not trying to show off out there. It's time to go out on God. But if I can be loved...
Take me with. I haven't been out forever.
Well, I'll take you to wars. I'm sorry. Because that's why I go buy my food and I go home. I'm there.
Same.
Like I said in this one song, I keep company with prophets. My friends are on the podcast I'm listening to, whether it's Gandhi or Mother Teresa or this, and like, that's my unit. Some of the friends are overseas and everything else, but the point is, it is good to be here.
Yes.
And it's,
You're bringing me back to so many
there's no
funny
rush.
stories.
There's no rush to be with someone or to go somewhere. I'm like, I always say this to my friends. But Cash, you train so many amazing people. There's so many. But I say it's not. There is no desperation because I know if I'm right, the right energy will come
100%.
to be with me. It will just happen.
100%.
Like you're crazy. I've never been on a date, so I wouldn't know what to do.
Are you joking?
I don't know. I don't have a clue.
Me neither. Me neither. It's not for my age. It's not for my...
I don't have a clue.
Definitely not. But I want to tell you a funny story. You were talking about sort of having your earphones in and whatever. There's a lady that came up to me at gym once, and I was running on the treadmill. I'm not a great runner, right? So already that takes a lot of effort for me, right? So there I am in my zone.
Jim Baywatch.
Kind of, except that I'm not like that stylish at gym either. But anyway, there I am, but dying. And she comes and eventually I think I throw in the towel, turn the sort of speed down, start walking. And I was like, she said, let me see what you're listening to. But before I can even comment, she already grabbed my earphone out. She's put it in and she goes, oh, I didn't take you for that kind of person. I said, of course, nobody does. You just saw tattoos, and at that stage I had blue hair. I said, you saw that. In the meantime, I was listening to A Course in Miracles. And she was like, I said, yeah, this is what I do. So let me just share one last really important thing with you about the gym, right? Because we know that we have that in common and how important it is for the whole storyline. So a lot of people say to me that I'm such a snob at gym, and I am. Because that gym, I'm not there to meet anybody. I'm really there to just train. Just get in the time that I need to get in.
Get that oxytocin out. Yeah.
1 is the oxytocin, 2 is the serotonin, 3 is the, what's the other mood boosting one? Dopamine. All of that. But actually, I'm there to get some of my downloads. I do very deep spiritual work at the gym because I see things come past me and an energy sort of it is attached to that person, and I start channeling immediately. I'm going, right, go home and write a story about this because I saw it at gym, or I felt it. I had a download not so long ago about which planet I actually come from, and it was in the middle of gym on the treadmill. So when people say things like, why do you train, as an example, my world is a little bit unique, right? So of course I want the overall happy. I'm also at the age where hormones are a real thing.
Strength. You got it.
How? Anyway, but I also use it because that's my safe place to meditate differently, to channel, to get downloads, to experience the world kind
There's
of.
so many different energy there.
So many.
So let's talk about the fitness game and the wellness game. When did you first get into exercising? Was there any particular discipline, or were you into dance or movement, or how did it all begin?
I started dancing at 3 or 4. I carried on dancing till.
So I could tell there's a dancer in there because I'm a choreographer, so I could see there's a bit of, the dancers are divas.
Total. So I love that. I haven't danced forever though. But anyway, I danced up until the age of about 14.
And what type of dancing?
Ballroom, Latin American, and modern jazz.
So
Yeah. I've got certificates for days.
It's a short story, long short story. So this couple came. I grew up in Zim when I was young. They came from Britain and they were to teach all the older folk ballroom dancing. And my mum, she was single, right? My mum and my son that loved dancing. So I'd go with. She came me to go with because as a young girl, I was also going to be there. Maybe you could partner with her, dance with her. But there I go at about 14 years old, and that's where I get to learn how to do the cha-cha and all this type of stuff. I was more into my hip-hop and Michael Jackson.
Oh, me, I love a hip hop.
But how's that? So just to connect up.
Phyllis, we're going to go into a little jam in Woolworths, you and I.
Yes, go.
With our basket.
With our basket. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha. Sourdough, cha-cha-cha.
That's classic sourdough. But yeah, Casey said that was
So
actually...
dancing. So did you always have a natural, good genetics, or did you have to work on
No, I
it?
was a chubby kid.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how you ate and how did you get fit and become
Okay.
more aware of
I'll tell you,
yourself.
it's so short and sweet. I was a chubby kid, but I didn't know I was a chubby kid, right? Because I was a kid. So we weren't
That's a
bodily...
good thing.
Yeah.
No one was body shaming you. So
No,
there's
not at all. And in fact, I come from a genetic of not very small people. So my mother was tiny. My dad was naturally thick.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a natural gym body, but I mean in those days.
Guys, if you're joining us anywhere around the world, if you dick, which means you fresh like, you dick. You either dick like this or you dick like that. Well, anyway.
So that was my dad, right? So there was a little bit of a genetic in me, or let's call it like a predisposition to have natural muscle tone.
Okay.
But little chubbo kid, didn't know that I was chubby, just a bit whatever. Loved my dancing, got lots of cups, medals, all of that sort of stuff. Hit standard 6, started jolling, but for some reason I sprouted in standard 6. I just went long and thin overnight.
Girls grow, they shoot up before guys, so.
Yeah, but I didn't even know, right? I didn't know that this was what was happening.
Yes.
All I know is that because I started jawling and clubbing, that all my mates were saying, you've got the best legs I've ever seen. And when I was younger, I had really great legs because, of course, I didn't have cellulite, I didn't have all of that sort of stuff.
You're still lovely, man.
Thank you. So Casey, that was it. Then at probably about 16, there was a gym around the corner from my house.
Yes.
And I used to go every day after school.
Yeah.
It also helped that my neighbour, he wasn't my neighbour, he kind of lived on the corner. He was also a little bit of a gymmer. He went to Highlands Boys.
Trying to go
Yeah, he was that. I mean, if I had to mention the name one day, I will, but not for this.
Okay.
But anyway, he also used to train. So him and I used to train together. So it was quite
Okay.
easy. Then at about, I think it must have fallen
What
off.
type of training? Just
In those days it was
freestyling or weight?
glasses. In those days
the
it was
glasses?
like Jane Fonda type
teach
glasses.
the glasses.
I can actually see you doing that.
I
But I didn't know the difference, right?
Okay.
I just did what I did.
Okay.
But then I don't kind of know what happened in between, but I'd always been body conscious. My mother always had a really great figure for her age, and I remember her always being on diet. So dieting was kind of normal in some way. And then when, probably about the age of, I'm trying to think back, about 23, 24, I really got into the gym in like a big way. And then it was just an every day. And I did, what was that 12-week challenge? I can't even remember what
Fit
it
for
was
Life.
called. That one, yeah. that guy. So I started understanding things like macros and
Do
micros.
you remember that aerobic guy with the curly hair? What is his name? Who's that blonde?
Oh, he wasn't on the morning show with the red shorts.
I don't know, it just came to my mind for some reason. That earring.
But
Okay.
you'll notice that I've shared this a lot in the past. My relationship with gym has been tumultuous because I'm also a workaholic, right? So when something's going on in my work life, I'm super committed. So I started another little business. It's not that little actually, but importing hair extensions about 3 years ago, selling it to salons.
Marketing here.
I've made a few mistakes there,
Okay.
but
Depends
yes.
on-
Yeah.
With the S4, I guess.
Oh, that's the first mistake. That's the first mistake, right?
Okay.
But it took me 2 years of absolute commitment, dedication. I fell into it. I knew nothing about hair, but I was already knee deep in, and I was like, I'm not going to fail. So all I did was work and work and work and work. Body went for shits. Health went for shits. It was terrible. Found my feet last year again. Had 2 incredible coaches, different. So one of them is quite a well-known international MMA guy. So I had his training program. I had his help in the background. Then through a bodybuilder that I still train with today. So I've always kind of had that help. But what I've noticed is that when things are sort of uncomfortable in my life, depending on what's going on, I'm like, okay, I'll gym next week. And the next week turns into 4, 5, 6, 7.
That's just momentum.
Hate myself, you have no idea. Body actually for me generally gets a bit smaller, but muscle definition goes. Then I get confused because then I'm in the feminine body. So even when I came back from Bali this year, at this moment of going, I'm not going to do what I normally do, which is mostly weight training and hip training and that kind of thing. I'm actually going to get into yoga. Can you imagine 48 years old going, okay, let me try yoga. Hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
But after 2 months, I convinced myself that I love it because it's given me the feminine energy to help clients do their stuff. And so one day I looked in the mirror and I'm like, you've got no muscle tone whatsoever.
And unfortunately, going through the changes you're going through, you have to do the weight training for the bone density,
All of that.
for everything every day.
All of it.
Even HIIT has different results, different age groups.
Yeah. And then also, like, what I noticed is I've worn the same clothes for, I can't even tell you, but more than 10 years, right? So I've always kind of little tighter, little looser, little tighter, little looser, really fit good. And I'm not prepared to go and buy a new wardrobe to suit what's going on in the body. So when I'm not training, the clothes fit a little bit looser and I feel quite confident. But underneath that, it's not a fun, it's not a pretty
And
picture.
you don't
Right?
feel like you don't really feel good emotionally when you're not training.
Wow.
So especially, like you said, you've studied to be a trainer and stuff. So now, the bad thing about that is there's an awareness, and you know what's happening when you're not training.
So much.
And also,
And I competed as well, so I
so let's
really
talk
know.
about that. What made you not stay on and be a trainer, and what happened with the competing? And
So I'll tell you 2 things. This is so nice,
let's-
short and sweet.
let's hear the
So
story.
as a personal trainer, what made me start it, I've been in the corporate world for a long time. I'm a gypsy nature, I'm a gypsy soul, and going through these different awakenings and not really knowing what was going on, could never really settle, couldn't find my groove, and was always kind of looking for grass is greener sort of experience, right? Gym junkie. Always. And so many people say to me, why don't you become a personal trainer? And one day, I was selling exotic cars at that stage. There was a guy that came in to buy a McLaren, and him and I became friends.
This is a movie about you, Chantal.
I
And
know.
it's you selling it for
Can
McLaren.
Can you just? And I know nothing about cars. Anyway, it was the greatest guy ever. And he said, I don't know how we got chatting. And I said, Jock, this is not my thing. I'd kind of just landed up here. I wanted to do something different. He said, but what's your passion? Training, no. So he said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you my whole management team to train. I was like, really? He said, yeah. I was like, oh my God. Okay. I started training them. Then I had to go and do the studies while training them. Then, this is a great story. I don't know if you know Mark Robinson, but I started training out of his gym. So I was a trainer at his gym. Okay. So you could imagine the types that I was dealing with, but he was also a coach of mine at some point in my life. What I found, 2 things happened. One is because I was studying, remember that childhood trauma took my kidneys into all sorts of stuff. It was bad. It was so bad.
That is not so easy. Like, you got to go to the altar pile.
hard, man.
I know.
That's terrible. Yeah. Anyway, that anatomy, I was like, oh, it wasn't fun. Anyway, but what actually happened, my whole body swelled. I remember driving to the gym one morning at 4 o'clock, and I looked at myself in my rearview mirror, and my face had swollen so badly from mass water retention, which is also why I've got a very unique kind of love for how the body actually works. So then I was like, sure, what the hell's going on? And at that time, I used to work with a body talk practitioner.
Yes.
She called me in. She went, oh my God, your body has gone back to 12, 13, 14 when studying was a thing for you.
Trauma,
All of that.
Yeah.
And it made me really tired. So getting up at these ridiculous hours, as you know, and then getting home late and then sitting all day studying, I was like, what have I done? But the bigger thing was I've become a psychologist to people that are lazy. Oh my God. I thought it was going to train me. Right? So even when I'm dying, I still show up.
Yes.
Right? These people are not showing up. They would come, but I was doing all the emotional work for them.
Yeah.
So I was like, sure, I hate this job. To this day, and I've done even worse things than sell fancy cars.
Yes.
I've sold smash cars to Nigerians as well.
Okay.
And still, my worst job is personal training.
Yeah. It's not for everyone.
No, not for me,
You know,
sure.
and also, obviously, with me, I'm lucky that I've finally got a bunch of clients that I love the people that I'm working with. It also takes a while to discern, and I just got to the point where I'm like, listen, I know I'm going to die someday. I'm not taking anything with me. So every moment, like I said to you even yesterday, this moment is going to be the best that it possibly can be. So it's choice.
Yeah.
Who do I want to spend the time with? Who can I assist? Who wants me to assist them? Who's genuinely willing to show up and put the work in?
Who wants to look a particular way?
I know I'm one of the only trainers that fires clients. I'm like, listen, guy, you walk in my brand. And I'm like, if we're not going to do this seriously, what's the point? Because money alone doesn't do it for me.
No.
I'm sorry.
No, because
Like,
that's the spiritual self.
So I am a bit of a ponce, but I'm like, I like to show results.
A ponce.
Yeah, but I want to that's my client. That's working my brand. I put work into it. They put work into it. Whether it's my music, my podcast, anything, I take it personally because there's purpose. I didn't just fall upon it. I co-created it.
Totally.
So are we doing this or are we playing games?
Totally.
Otherwise, there's other guys that are cheaper than me.
No, for sure.
So-
For sure. I know that story. I know it. So then the next transition, right,
let's
which is really cool, right? So now
Competition. Let's talk about the competition and.
So now my life's changing, and it's changing fast, and it's changing hard, and I don't actually know if I'm coming or going.
Yeah.
But I can no longer afford to sustain myself as a personal trainer. I've come out of corporate, right? So I'm used to earning quite a lot. Now I'm
And a
earning...
steady amount, but now you freestyle.
Yes.
Change by
And
the
I'm
month.
literally earning half of what I was.
Yeah.
I'm up at ridiculous hours. I'm not a morning person. So I'm like, panic. All these crazy things start to step in. I take a corporate job out of absolute necessity. It doesn't last very long. The company goes under. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I've worked for people, but more importantly, I've got a seriously entrepreneurial spirit. But now, run out of cash. I've maxed all my credit cards. I've done, you name it, right?
Yeah.
But now I have no choice. And I am now selling smash cars to Nigerians, living in Morningside, driving to Pomona. I cried all the way to my interview in a brand new black Mini in G-Star jeans, knowing that my life is about to take a turn. It didn't take a turn, it took a serious turn. I mean, one day you and I I'll get into the actual numbers of what I lived on for a little while, of part of being in survival. But in that, one of the quite well-known judges was a personal friend of mine, and I was sitting on my couch while I was crying to him, and we were talking about Jim, and he leaned over, Kaz, and he grabbed my love handle. And he said to me, Chantal, you think you're in such good shape, but you're a little bit tubby. But he said it cutely. My God, it wasn't so cute. By Sunday morning, I was at the shop doing my first 3-week sort of set. He said to me, if you get through this, I'll coach you for free. I was like, what do you mean if I get through 3 weeks? Of course I can get through 3 weeks. It was probably the hardest 3 weeks of my life, but I did it. And the next thing he started coaching me for my first show. And at that time, it was so beautifully designed because literally I was selling cars to really, really, really difficult audience. But remember, my masculine had kicked in hard and fast. I was hungry. I was tired. And all I cared about is what I looked like, what bikini I was going to wear on stage. So every time they spoke out of turn or were rude or whatever, masculine kicked in. I was as tough as nails.
Snappy,
Oh, so much. Tough as nails. What's that thing? I can't think of the name that gives you so much shakes to cut weight.
oh shit.
I can't even think of that name. But I was taking that at the time.
Brutal.
That thing. Yeah, game neutral, feeling terrible, like I'm going to actually murder someone all day, every day. But in both realities, these two scenarios kept me alive. So this selling
What are
cars
you
to these
eating at that
people.
time? What are you eating at this point?
Dear God. I still to this day don't eat egg. So morning was some egg whites. And only towards the end did I start getting a little bit creative that I could do things like green peppers or red peppers in my egg white. Then sort of mid-morning was hake and pineapple. Literally, I really still don't eat hake to this day. Then it was ostrich mince. I mean, they change every cycle. It's a little bit different. But ostrich mince, broccoli, I hardly eat broccoli to this day. Patty pans, I don't eat patty pans to this day.
No sauce, nothing.
No.
No salt.
Nothing, none of it. I was so good, but I'll tell you what was funny, that the week before I stood on stage, I had such a bad plummet. I think I ate about 6 packets of licorice. So from being so well disciplined to 11th hour, but the body was in so much shock, right? So I peaked too early. I looked incredible the week before I stood on stage. All the veins were popping, and. But a great story as well is, genetically, I've never had a bum. Didn't know that I didn't have a bum, right? Didn't know how to switch those glutes on and do whatever. I've got a bit of a bum now. And I think back, I still placed pretty well back then with a really flat pancake. So if I knew what I knew now, but if you had asked me, would I ever get on stage again? There's an absolute zero, no chance in hell. I would never put my body through that kind of trauma at all. And I think you might have noticed I wrote a post around loving the body through all the different seasons. I've seen all the seasons.
It's nice to get to a place of balance where now you can use all those things that you learned. They're present with you in your current day awareness. How I think, how I feel, what I eat, my self-loathing, my self-love.
So much.
You know, because you can be your worst judge.
I'll tell you just, to add to that, especially for women that battle with sort of understanding their body. A couple of years ago, about 10 years ago, I moved to Durban for a year. And my hormones took a major tumble. The endocrinologist in Durban had misdiagnosed me, had incorrectly medicated me, and all of a sudden I ballooned in weight, like a good old fat girl, for lack of a better way of saying it. All these people that I met in Durban, I introduced myself by saying, I don't always look like this, I used to be so thin, I started to realize how bad this complex actually was. In all of this, greens, protein, training in the morning, doing heel sprints at night, not 1 gram shifting until I came back to Joburg. I was like, okay, literally my suitcase, I left all my furniture behind. I got back in front of my endocrinologist and she said, oh my God, through all of this, you've also developed insulin resistance and. Within 3 months, I was back to my normal self. And I just remember that year of feeling so uncomfortable in my skin, but no training, no dieting, shifted a single thing. So that also was part of my journey to understanding what integrative coaching looks like. Why mind, body, soul, spirit, critical.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what you're doing right now and how all of that has led to this point. Because at the end of the day, it's about self-love. What's the purpose? What's the passion right now? And also, the third question is, how important is it for us to adjust our training, especially as women, going through the different changes, hormonal changes? Because these things change. And I specialize in training women at that stage. But I wanted to come from another woman, how things have got to change. How you've got to be aware of what you're putting in, and sometimes you've got to go and see the doctor. So let's first of all talk about the job that you're doing, your passion right now.
Okay.
So we can give people a bit of a feel of that.
I love it.
And then what it's like training and how you're going to change your life.
Okay, so from a daily perspective, from a career perspective, I split myself in 3 places at the moment. So 60% is one-on-one coaching. Integrated with healing. Like I said, so I've got clients that have been with me for a good couple of years. Some of them see me once a week, some once a month, some once every second week, depending on what's going on in their reality. I don't write specific programs, predominantly because this is what I imagine things are going to look like. But in between session, you've gone through a divorce, you've lost your job, you've had an illness, or whatever. So I work very much in spirit. Spirit tells me exactly what I need to do in the session. The clients that... Very much. The clients that know me and have worked with me for a while love that style, and most of them will say things like, I love coming to you because I never know what I'm leaving with. I never know what the experience is going to be like. Most of them will tell you that I'm quite hard-hitting. I call a spade a shovel. I always say, I am not here to make you feel temporarily better. I am here to mold this vessel, mold this energy into being the best version of yourself. And sometimes it takes guts. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I'm the person that's got to hold that mirror up. But in all of this, you're safe with me. Your energy's safe with you. And all of you is welcome. Every last drop. Don't come and sit as the perfect person in front of me. You got pissed last night after telling me you're done with drinking. I'm good with that. Let me show you the truth of that. Let me show you what happens when you start judging yourself for doing the things that you thought you had. So that's what I do probably 50 to 60% of the time. The client base is growing. It should be a little bit more. The reason that it isn't is actually because even my journey has kind of gone like this. So I've only been back in coaching full time for the last 2 years.
Okay.
I took a good break after some of these meltdowns, as I shared with you. Then I've got probably about 20% or maybe even 30% still running my hair business that is actually for sale at the moment. There's a part of me that was very nervous to put this out in public. We are a trusted brand, but after 3 years of doing something really unique, creating a brand, importing a product, signing up, we probably sold to about 400 salons all over the country. We've done okay. It's not my thing. It's a complete misalignment for me. I got into it selling myself that if I could make women beautiful on the inside, or the outside rather, I can then start tapping into the inside. It was a really good idea in principle. In reality, it didn't quite work like that. So what happens is I find myself being pulled back into too much of a 3D world, and then I have to kind of re-prep again for a session. So I made the conscious decision about a month after I came back from Bali, which was in sort of January, February. The timing of it's pretty immaculate. The world has changed quite a lot. I'm being called more and more and more into the spiritual world. And then, as I mentioned to you, probably 30% of my time at the moment, we've literally just launched this business called the HCI, Human Capital Initiatives, where we've done something very unique. I think we're probably the first to market with this, where we are combining all the relevancy around HR, the legalities around conventional corporate HR structures, and then bringing in this deeper work of being able to get to the guts, being able to get to the root of a being, of a team, of a structure, of a culture, and working with the human to create best performance. So a lot of people will say things like, what is my bottom line going to look like? And my answer is very, very simple. Let me work with the human. The human will transform. By virtue of that, performance is going to increase, your bottom line is going to be affected. But that person has to want to be part of your team.
It's true.
It's so simple, right?
We found that, just keep it to your channel of thought, taking wellness like to the minds. We said to them, we'll help you have a workplace of people that want to come to work, because at the moment you can't tell why they're not coming to work. Maybe someone's got tuberculosis, maybe someone's home sick. But by making sure that your staff are well in all these different areas, so they're eating right, their health
all
is
integrated.
right, their mental is right, they're going to come forward. And you're giving them situations at work that actually support them. There's no way they're not going to, you're going to know why they're missing.
100%.
And then people will be more fluid at work and really
And
functional.
also, you see, our thing around that is teaching people how to be 100% responsible for their story, whatever that is. So if I want to form part of the storyline, I have to show up as my best self. I can't see this as a job that I'm getting a salary at the end of the month. I want to still live my best life possible. Not all corporates are open to understanding that culture of who they are and what they present is a real story. So the way that I kind of explain it is that if you and I are going to go on a date, right? We're going to go on a date, we're going to get to know each other. Then we're going to go on the second date. I might lift my skirt a little to show you my leg long before I choose to walk into the bedroom with you. So it's not different in the corporate space. We want to fall in love with each other. We want to be here for the right reason, and we want to make miracles as a human collective. If that's not for you, you're in the wrong place or the wrong team. But the thing that makes what we do quite unique is we cut the noise because of all the intuitive work that we do. So both my partner in this space and I are obviously coaches in different areas, consciousness coaches in different areas, but we are also both trained numerologists. So we use numbers to determine a whole lot about who you are at your core, your DNA, before life got you, before life changed you. So for example, if I want to develop a call center, and I mean this is very grassroots kind of stuff, I cannot employ people that can't communicate. I cannot employ people that don't understand team. In other words, you have a problem, I need to be the person that solves that problem for you, right? So if I'm a one-man show, by virtue of what my numbers dictate, how can I be on a call center? So some things are so basic, right? So we cut the noise really, really, really quickly. We presented this to a couple of companies. All are blown away. One of the ones that we're busy with at the moment, we said, I'll tell you what. So we don't want to do what everybody does and come and sell your song. The actual stuff, we're not going to over-embellish because there's 100 companies that can do that, no problem. We can do that with our eyes closed. But I'll tell you what, come to me for a session. Let me tell you about yourself, about your family, about your staff members. Give me a couple of date of births and let me show you a story. The lady left mesmerized.
And how is that like when you're presenting it? Because I know normally these corporates, too, normal coaches that I've worked with, they do like the stuff called the Enneagram.
Yeah.
There's different type of character assessment
Yes,
tools.
it's similar to that.
And I think imagine working on all these things together. It's just so. So how different is your method compared to like the Enneagram and the other different?
So I love that you asked that, right?
Yes.
So remember, in Enneagram, I'm going to put a couple of numbers in to a document or to an app, and it's going to bring me a storyline, right? What we do, similar sort of storyline, but with intuition. So I'm not putting it into a program, I am the program. So when I'm looking at your numbers, for example, let's hypothetically say you have a twin, okay?
Yeah.
And you're both born on the same day. Hypothetically, you should be identical, shouldn't you? But you're not.
Yeah.
The only reason why you're not and why I'm delivering it to you differently, because I'm channeling while I'm working with you. So Source is giving me the information that I need to get across to you. Yes, there'll be similarities. Yes, there'll be some fundamental principles that are all the same. So we'll use the numbers to sieve out noise. After that, we hone it, we hone it, we hone it, we refine it, using this ability to get additional information that doesn't meet the eye. So at some point when I do your numbers for you, at that point, with new clients, as an example, I offer them a 90-minute blueprint. That's how we start all our journey. So I can show you who you are, what trips you up in this life, what are your gifts, etc., etc. And I tell all clients, every time I see you, I'm going to be getting new information because I'm channeling information that's only for your highest good in this now.
Yes.
No more and no less. I'll give you a beautiful example. So one of the clients that we're busy working with, in this particular project, I'm the executive coach. My partner's doing the legal stuff, the HR stuff. We're starting to see a pattern. She's already done some of the numbers. I said, well, let me give a different version of it. Pop it through me. When I phoned her last night and I actually screenshotted the pattern that I saw, she went, oh my God. Now she is as powerful as me, if not more. And not to sort of fly my own flag, but this is a gift that I have that she also has. But we're reading them through different angles. So between what she's seeing and what I'm seeing, is phenomenal. Right there, we've got the integration. So what is different is that you get a tool like an Enneagram that can give you numbers. Now, how do I integrate that information? I now know what I know. How does it help me? It's the same with the healing work. I can give the information. Knowing doesn't mean feeling. They don't translate. So we work very much with how do you integrate all these different storylines? How do you take a person and develop them to either be out of your environment or in your environment, but in the right place? So that's pretty much what we do.
Wow.
It's a big mouthful, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but it is. But I mean, it's so important. And I think also, especially now, we have to work with people on a whole other level because we're talking about the kingdom is within you. If you look at the human body through microscopes and everything else, it's like even the cells, they replicate the universe. It's like all, and we have to be as aware as possible.
100%.
So before we close this, because we could carry on forever and ever and ever, how can people reach you first and foremost?
Amazing.
On social media? Where do they get hold of you on social?
So I think probably the easiest would be through my Instagram account, which is Chantress, CHANTRESS.
Yes.
And it's for that very reason that the name is Chantress, _777. Or otherwise via WhatsApp, or otherwise via you that can share their number.
Amazing.
But I think that's probably the easiest channel.
And in closing, what is a fit life for you? Your definition of a fit life?
Balance. Balance, that's it. No more and no less. As it stands right now, I train 4 to 5 times a week. I used to train 7 or 8. Right now, my body only needs 4. I'm learning how to listen to the body. So that's the one part of it. Getting enough rest, getting the right nutrients in, having the right thoughts, engaging with the right people. So watching every sort of single sense of mine, how it's engaging, how it's being ignited, what's actually happening when my senses are on overdrive.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us.
Such a pleasure. Thank
Guys,
you, Katie. Thank you for having me.
This has been eye-opening. You can see I'm going to be really taking you to those stories that would not normally be on these screens. The next 2 episodes, I want to get a bunch of amazingly strong warrior women to share their stories with you. You've seen the guys open up. We'd like to thank Chantal for joining us. Catch her on Instagram, social media. We're going to keep up our stories and try and help each other to help as many people out there as possible. And by the way, we all help each other simultaneously. So God bless you. Keep reaching for the stars.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you so much.
Been amazing.